I never thought I'd end up here, staring at the back of my son's head in a courtroom, the air heavy with the scent of polished wood and despair. My hands tremble in my lap, twisting the frayed edge of my scarf, a gift from him when he was still the boy who'd run to me with scraped knees and a toothy grin. That boy is gone now, replaced by a man I barely recognize, standing rigid in a cheap suit, his shoulders squared against the weight of the world's judgment. Ethan, my only child, the one I raised through sleepless nights and endless sacrifices, is on trial, and I'm the one who put him there. It's a truth that cuts deeper than any knife, a wound I've carried since the day I found those papers in his office, the ones that unraveled everything I thought I knew about him. It started 6 months ago, in the quiet of our family home in upstate New York, a place where the trees whisper secrets and the winters bite hard. Ethan had come back to live with me after his divorce, a broken man at 32, his eyes hollow, his laughter gone. I welcomed him, of course mothers always do. I cooked his favorite meals, pot roast and apple pie, hoping to coax back the son I'd lost to years of distance and unspoken grudges. He'd always been ambitious, my Ethan, clawing his way up in the financial world, a place I never understood but cheered for anyway. But this time, he brought something darker with him, a shadow that clung to his every word, his every glance. I noticed the late-night phone calls first, his voice low and sharp, words like deal and cut slicing through the stillness of the house. He'd lock himself in his old bedroom, now a makeshift office, papers strewn across the desk like a battlefield. I'd knock softly, offering coffee or a chance to talk, but he'd wave me off, his smile tight. "It's just work, Mom," he'd say, but his eyes wouldn't meet mine. I trusted him, though. I always trusted him. He was my son, the boy who'd promised to take care of me when he was barely tall enough to reach the kitchen counter. But then the bills started piling up. The electricity flickered one night, and a notice from the bank arrived, stark and unforgiving. Our mortgage was behind, the house I'd spent 30 years paying off now at risk. I confronted Ethan, my voice steady but my heart pounding. "What's going on with the finances?" I asked, standing in the doorway of his room, the lamplight casting harsh shadows on his face. He snapped, his voice a whip crack in the quiet. "Don't question me, Mom. I've got it under control." The words stung, not just for their venom, but for the stranger delivering them. That was the moment I knew something was wrong, terribly wrong. I waited until he left for the city one morning, his briefcase clutched like a shield. Guilt gnawed at me as I crept into his room, the floorboards creaking under my weight. His desk was a mess of spreadsheets, receipts, and cryptic notes, but one folder caught my eye, labeled Client Trust. Inside were documents I couldn't fully understand, numbers in red, signatures I didn't recognize, and a name that kept appearing, Marcus Heller. My stomach churned. Marcus was Ethan's old college friend, a man I'd never liked, with his slick smile and eyes that lingered too long. I'd heard rumors he'd gone to prison for fraud, but Ethan swore he'd cut ties years ago. The papers told a different story. They outlined a scheme, a web of fake investments and siphoned funds, with Ethan's name tied to every transaction. My son, my pride, was stealing from people, widows, retirees, families like ours. I sat there, the folder trembling in my hands, as the world I'd built around him crumbled. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, that he'd been coerced, but the evidence was undeniable. I thought of my late husband, John, who'd worked himself to the bone to give Ethan a future. What would he say if he saw this? I didn't sleep that night. I paced the kitchen, the clock ticking like a countdown to a decision I didn't want to make. I could confront Ethan, give him a chance to explain, to fix it. But what if he lied again? What if he ran? The thought of losing him to a prison cell was unbearable, but the thought of letting him destroy more lives was worse. By dawn, I'd made my choice. I called the authorities, my voice breaking as I handed over the folder, piece by damning piece. The weeks that followed were a blur of police interviews, lawyer meetings, and Ethan's silence. He wouldn't speak to me, wouldn't even look at me when they arrested him. I sat in the courtroom day after day, watching as the prosecution laid out his crimes: embezzlement, fraud, betrayal. The victims testified, their faces etched with pain, and I felt each word like a lash. I wanted to scream that I was sorry, that I'd raised him better, but I stayed silent, my guilt a heavy stone in my chest. Now, as the judge prepares to deliver the verdict, I can't help but wonder where I went wrong. Was it the divorce that broke him? The pressure of a world that demanded too much? Or was it me, too blind with love to see the man he'd become? Ethan turned slightly, and for a moment, Our eyes meet. There's no anger there, only a flicker of something regret, maybe, or fear. I want to reach for him, to pull him back to the days when we were a family, unbroken. But the gavel falls, and the judge's voice cuts through the silence, sealing his fate. The judge's voice echoes in the courtroom, a low rumble that seems to shake the very walls. Ethan James Caldwell, you have been found guilty on all counts of embezzlement and fraud. The words land like a physical blow, and I grip the edge of the bench, my knuckles white. Ethan doesn't move, doesn't flinch, but I see the muscle in his jaw tighten, the only sign he's still human, still my son. The judge continues, listing the sentence: 7 years in a federal penitentiary, restitution to the victims, a fine that will follow him for life. 7 years. The number repeats in my mind, a cruel mantra. I raised him, loved him, and now I've lost him to a cage of his own making. As the bailiff leads him away, Ethan's eyes find mine again, and this time, there's no mistaking the pain in them. I want to call out, to tell him I'm sorry, that I never meant for this to happen, but the words choke in my throat. The courtroom empties, and I'm left alone, the silence deafening. I drive home in a daze, the road blurring through tears I refuse to let fall. The house feels empty without him, the walls echoing with memories of better days, his laughter as a child, the way he'd hug me after a long day, the promises we made to always have each other's backs. I can't stay in the house that night. Every corner holds a ghost, every creak a reminder of what I've done. I grab my coat and drive to the lake, the one where we used to fish when he was little. The water is still under the moonlight, a mirror reflecting my fractured heart. I sit on the shore, clutching a photo of us from his high school graduation, his smile wide and unguarded. I trace his face with my finger, wondering when I lost him. Was it when his father died, leaving us to navigate grief alone? Was it when he moved to the city, chasing dreams I couldn't understand? Or was it long before that, in the small moments I missed, the signs I ignored? The next morning, I visit the prison, my hands shaking as I sign in. The visiting room is cold, sterile, the kind of place that strips away hope. Ethan walks in, his orange jumpsuit a stark contrast to the boy I raised. He sits across from me, the glass between us a wall I can't breach. "Why, Mom?" he asks, his voice low, almost a whisper. "Why did you turn me in?" The question cuts deeper than I expected, and I struggle to find words. "I had to," I say finally. "For you. For them. For me." He shakes his head, his eyes hard. "You betrayed me." The accusation hangs in the air, and I feel the weight of it, heavy as the truth. I try to explain, to tell him about the folder, the victims, the lies, but he cuts me off. "You don't get it, do you? I was trying to fix things, to make it right. You just saw what you wanted to see." His words sting, but there's something in his tone, a crack in his armor, that makes me pause. "Fix what?" I ask, leaning closer to the glass. He looks away, his fingers tapping restlessly on the table. "Marcus," he says finally, the name a poison between us. He dragged me into this. I didn't have a choice. I want to believe him, to cling to the idea that my son was a victim, not a villain, but the evidence is too damning. Still, I press him, needing to understand. He tells me about Marcus Heller, how their friendship in college turned into a partnership, how Marcus's charm masked a ruthless ambition. Ethan was desperate after his divorce, drowning in debt, and Marcus offered a way out, a scheme to skim funds from clients, promising it was temporary, that they'd pay it back. But Marcus disappeared when the feds closed in, leaving Ethan to take the fall. I leave the prison with more questions than answers, my heart torn between anger and pity. Ethan's story feels like a lifeline, a chance to see him as the boy I raised, not the criminal in the courtroom. But I can't shake the doubt, the fear that he's manipulating me, just as he manipulated those clients. I spend the next few days digging, calling old contacts, searching for any trace of Marcus Heller. The trail is cold, but I find a name in a news article, a blurry photo from a charity event. He's out there, living a life built on my son's ruin. Anger simmers in me, a fire I haven't felt since John died. I want justice, not just for Ethan but for the people he hurt, the lives he shattered. I track down one of the victims, a widow named Clara, whose retirement savings vanished in Ethan's scheme. She meets me at a diner, her hands trembling as she clutches a coffee mug. "I trusted him," she says, her voice breaking. "He looked me in the eye and promised my money was safe." I apologize, my words feeble against her pain, but she shakes her head. "It's not just him. There's someone else pulling the strings. I heard him on the phone once, talking to a man named Marcus." Her words confirm what I've begun to suspect. Ethan may be guilty, but he's not the mastermind. I vow to find Marcus, to make him face what he's done. It's a promise I make to Clara, to myself, and to the son I still love, despite everything. But as I drive home, the weight of it settles over me. This isn't just about justice, it's about revenge, a dangerous path I'm not sure I'm ready to walk. The hunt for Marcus Heller consumes me. I barely sleep, my nights spent poring over old emails, financial records, anything that might lead me to him. The house feels like a prison of its own, every room a reminder of Ethan's absence. I keep his high school photo on the kitchen table, a talisman against the darkness creeping into my heart. I tell myself I'm doing this for justice, for the victims, but deep down, I know it's more than that. I want Marcus to hurt the way Ethan is hurting, the way I'm hurting. I want him to pay. I start with the basics, scouring social media, public records, anything I can access from my outdated laptop. Marcus is a ghost, his digital footprint carefully scrubbed, but I find a lead in an old alumni newsletter from Ethan's college. It mentions a consulting firm in Chicago, one Marcus was linked to years ago. I call the firm, posing as a potential client, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. The receptionist is polite but guarded, saying Marcus no longer works there. When I press, she hangs up, but not before letting slip that he's out west somewhere. Out west. It's vague, but it's something. I book a flight to Chicago, telling myself it's a starting point. The plane ride is a blur, my mind racing with possibilities. What will I do when I find him? Confront him? Turn him over to the police? Or something darker, something I can't yet name? I land in a city that feels too big, too cold, the skyscrapers looming like judges over my quest. I check into a cheap motel, the kind where the walls are thin and the air smells of stale cigarettes. I spread out my notes, a map of the western states pinned to the wall, red circles marking places Marcus might be. My first stop is the consulting firm's old office, now a co-working space. A young man at the front desk, barely out of college, looks at me with pity when I mention Marcus's name. "You're not the first to come looking for him," he says, glancing around as if someone might be listening. "He burned a lot of people here, left a mess and vanished." He gives me a name, Lydia, a former colleague who might know more. I track her down at a coffee shop downtown, her face lined with the kind of weariness that comes from carrying someone else's secrets. Lydia is hesitant at first, her eyes darting to the door every time it opens. I buy her a latte, my hand steady as I slide it across the table. "I'm not here to cause trouble," I say. "My son's in prison because of Marcus. I need to find him." Something in my voice, maybe the raw edge of a mother's pain, softens her. She leans in, her voice low. "Marcus is in Vegas," she says. "He's running some kind of investment scam, same as always. But he's careful now, uses aliases. Look for a guy named Michael Hart. That's what he's going by. Vegas." The word conjures images of neon lights and desperation, a fitting hideout for a man like Marcus. I thank Lydia, my mind already racing ahead to the next step. I fly to Las Vegas the next day, the desert heat hitting me like a slap as I step off the plane. The city is a maze of casinos and false promises, each one a potential hiding place for Marcus. I start at the high-end hotels, flashing his photogranny, pulled from an old social media post at concierges and bartenders. Most shake their heads, but one, a cocktail waitress with tired eyes, pauses. "Yeah, I've seen him," she says, pointing to a casino across the street. "Calls himself Michael. Big tipper, bigger ego." I stake out the casino that night, my heart pounding as I scan the crowd. The slot machines jangle, a cacophony that drowns out my thoughts. I'm not sure what I'll do if I see him, but the anger in me is a living thing, clawing to be free. Then I spot him, Marcus, or Michael, whatever he calls himself now. He's at a blackjack table, his hair slicked back, his smile as charming as ever. He's surrounded by people, laughing, oblivious to the storm coming for him. I take a step forward, my hands clenched, but something stops me. A memory of Ethan, not the man in prison, but the boy who trusted me to protect him. I don't approach Marcus that night. Instead, I follow him, keeping my distance as he moves through the city's underbelly. He's careful, checking over his shoulder, but I'm a shadow, driven by a mother's resolve. I gather evidence, photos of him with shady types, snippets of conversations overheard in dive bars. It's not enough for the police yet, but it's a start. Each piece is a brick in the wall I'm building, a wall that will trap him the way he trapped my son. But as I watch him, I feel the weight of my own choices. I turned Ethan in to save him, to force him to face the truth. Am I doing this for justice? Or am I just chasing vengeance? The line is blurry, and I'm not sure I care anymore. All I know is that Marcus Heller will face me, one way or another, and when he does, I'll be ready. Vegas is a city that thrives on secrets, and I'm learning to play its game. I rent a car, a nondescript sedan that blends into the sea of vehicles crawling along the strip. I follow Marcus for days, my eyes burning from lack of sleep, my heart a tight knot of purpose. He's slippery, always moving, meeting men in suits in back rooms or women in glittering dresses at rooftop bars. I snap photos with my phone, my hands shaking as I capture his every move. I'm no detective, just a mother driven by a need to right a wrong, but I'm learning fast. One night, I follow him to a warehouse on the edge of the city, the kind of place where deals are made in shadows. I park a block away, my breath shallow as I watch him slip inside, a briefcase in hand. I wait, the desert air cold against my skin, until he emerges an hour later, his face tense. I don't know what he's doing, but I know it's not legal. I scribble down the address, the license plates of the cars parked nearby, anything that might help. I'm building a case, piece by piece, but it's slow, and the weight of it is crushing me. I call Clara, the widow from the diner, to check in. Her voice is softer now, less raw, but the pain is still there. Any luck? She asks, and I hear the hope in her words. I tell her about Vegas, about Marcus, about the evidence I'm gathering. She's quiet for a long moment, then says, "Be careful. Men like him don't play fair." Her warning sticks with me, a reminder that I'm in over my head. But I can't stop, not when I'm this close. I visit Ethan again, driving back to New York for a day, the prison's gray walls a stark contrast to Vegas's glitz. He looks thinner, his eyes dull, but there's a spark when he sees me. "You're chasing him, aren't you?" he says, his voice a mix of awe and fear. I nod, unsure how much to tell him. "Don't," he says, leaning closer to the glass. "He's dangerous, Mom. Let the cops handle it." But I can't. The cops didn't find Marcus when Ethan needed them to, and I don't trust them to do it now. I have to, I say, echoing my words from before. He shakes his head, but there's something new in his eyes, pride, maybe, or worry. Back in Vegas, I get a break. A bartender at one of Marcus's haunts, a grizzled man named Tony, takes pity on me after I tip him generously. "Your guy's in deep with some bad people," he says, wiping down the counter. "Loan sharks, mostly. He owes them big." He slips me a name, Victor Ruiz, a man who runs a private gambling ring. I track Victor down, my heart pounding as I approach him at a dive bar. He's a bear of a man, his eyes cold, but he listens when I mention Marcus. "You want him, you're not the only one," he says, his voice a low growl. "He's got debts he can't pay." I see an opening, a chance to turn Marcus's own world against him. I tell Victor about Ethan, about the scam, about the lives ruined. I don't mention my role in turning my son in. Some truths are too heavy to share. Victor leans back, sizing me up. "You got proof?" he asks. I show him the photos, the notes, everything I've gathered. He nods, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across his face. "I'll handle it," he says, but I shake my head. "I want him alive," I say, my voice firm. "I want him to face a judge, like my son did." Victor agrees, but I don't trust him. I keep following Marcus, my days a blur of coffee and adrenaline. I'm close to breaking, my body exhausted, my mind fraying. I dream of Ethan as a boy, his hand in mine, and wake up gasping, the weight of my choices crushing me. I'm not just fighting for justice anymore. I'm fighting for redemption, for a chance to make things right with my son. But the deeper I go, the more I realize how dangerous this is. Marcus isn't just a conman, he's a predator, and I'm walking into his territory. One night, I follow him to a penthouse party, the kind of place where money flows like water. I sneak in, posing as a caterer, my heart racing as I spot him across the room. He's laughing, charming, but his eyes are sharp, scanning the crowd. I'm careful, keeping my head down, but then he turns, and for a moment, I swear he sees me. My breath catches, and I slip out, my pulse pounding in my ears. I'm not sure if he recognized me, but the fear is real now, a living thing that follows me back to my motel. I lie awake that night, staring at the ceiling, the weight of my mission pressing down on me. I'm close, so close, but I'm scared not just of Marcus, but of what I'm becoming. I wanted justice, but the line between justice and revenge is thin, and I'm not sure which side I'm on anymore. All I know is that I can't stop, not until Marcus faces what he's done, not until I can look Ethan in the eye and tell him I fought for him. The fear follows me like a shadow, but I push it down, burying it beneath my knee to see this through. I'm back in Vegas, the city's neon glow a mockery of the darkness I'm wading through. My motel room is a mess of papers, photos, and half-empty coffee cups, a testament to my obsession. I've got enough on Marcus now: photos, recordings, names of his associates, but it's not enough for the police. Not yet. I need something concrete, something that will stick. I tell myself I'm doing this for Ethan, for Clara, for all the people Marcus hurt, but there's a part of me that wants him to suffer, to feel the weight of his sins the way I do. I meet Victor Ruiz again, this time at a diner on the outskirts of the city. He's late, his bulk filling the booth as he slides in across from me. "You're persistent," he says, his voice laced with amusement. I don't smile. I lay out my evidence, my hands steady despite the tremor in my chest. "This is enough to start," I say, "but I need more. I need you to get me into his inner circle." Victor laughs, a low, rumbling sound that makes my skin crawl. "You're playing a dangerous game, lady," he says, "but I like your guts." He agrees to help, for a price. I don't have much money, but I give him what I can, draining the last of my savings. It's a reckless move, but I'm past caring about caution. Victor sets me up with a contact, a woman named Elena who works as a bookkeeper for Marcus's latest scam. She's nervous, her eyes darting around when we meet in a crowded casino. "I don't want trouble," she says, her voice barely audible over the slot machines. I lean in, my tone soft but firm. "You won't get any. Just tell me what he's doing." Elena hesitates, then spills. "Marcus is running a Ponzi scheme, bigger than the one that took Ethan down. He's using fake investment portfolios to lure in wealthy clients, promising returns that don't exist." She shows me ledgers, encrypted files she's copied onto a USB drive. "It's the break I've been waiting for, but it comes with a warning. He knows someone's watching him," she says. "He's paranoid. You need to be careful." I take the USB drive and thank her, my mind racing. I'm so close, but the fear is stronger now, a constant hum in my veins. I return to my motel, uploading the files to a secure cloud server, just in case. I don't trust Victor, and I'm starting to wonder if I can trust anyone. The walls feel like they're closing in, the air thick with the weight of what I'm about to do. I'm not just chasing Marcus anymore. I'm chasing the truth, and it's a dangerous thing. I visit Ethan again, needing to see him, to remind myself why I'm doing this. He's quieter this time, his anger softened by something else: resignation, maybe, or hope. "You're still out there, fighting for me," he says, his voice cracking. I don't deserve it. The words break my heart, and I press my hand to the glass, wishing I could touch him. "You're my son," I say. "I'll always fight for you." He looks away, but not before I see the tears in his eyes. Back in Vegas, I make my move. I send the evidence to a detective in New York, one who worked Ethan's case. I don't trust Victor to deliver Marcus to the police, so I take matters into my own hands. The detective is skeptical at first, but the files on the USB drive change his tone. "This is big," he says. "If it checks out, we can bring him in." I feel a flicker of hope, but it's tempered by dread. Marcus is slippery, and I know he won't go down without a fight. That night, I follow him to a private club, a place where the rich and corrupt mingle behind velvet ropes. I bribe a bouncer to let me in, my heart pounding as I slip into the crowd. Marcus is there, holding court at a corner table, his smile as sharp as ever. I'm close enough to hear him, his voice smooth as he pitches his scam to a new mark. I record it all, my phone hidden in my purse, my hands trembling with adrenaline. But then he sees me. His eyes lock onto mine, and for a moment, the world stops. He knows who I am. I see it in the way his smile falters, the way his hand tightens around his glass. I turn to leave, my legs unsteady, but he's faster. He catches up to me in the alley behind the club, his voice low and dangerous. "You're Ethan's mother," he says, stepping closer. "You should have stayed out of this." I stand my ground, my fear giving way to anger. "You destroyed my son," I say. "I'm going to destroy you." He laughs, a cold, hollow sound, but there's a flicker of fear in his eyes. He knows I have something on him, and for the first time, I feel the balance of power shift. I walk away, my heart racing, knowing I've crossed a line I can't uncross. Marcus Heller is coming for me, and I'm ready. The alley's chill lingers on my skin as I drive back to the motel, my hands gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles ache. Marcus's words echo in my head, a threat wrapped in that slick charm he wields like a weapon. I've rattled him, and that's both a victory and a danger. I double-check the locks on my door, my eyes scanning the dark corners of the room. Sleep is a luxury I can't afford, Not when I'm this close to bringing him down. I upload the recording from the club to the cloud, my fingers trembling as I type a message to the detective. This is it, I write. Get him before he gets me. The next morning, I wake to a text from an unknown number. Back off, or you'll regret it. My heart stops, but I don't reply. I know it's Marcus, or someone he sent, and I know I've hit a nerve. I pack my things, moving to a new motel across town, my paranoia growing with every passing hour. I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched, that every stranger's glance is a warning. But I can't stop now. I've come too far, risked too much. I meet with Victor again, this time in a crowded mall, hoping the public setting will keep me safe. He's agitated, his eyes darting around. You're stirring up trouble, he says, his voice low. Marcus knows you're onto him. He's talking about leaving the country. Panic grips me, but I keep my face calm. Then we move faster. I say, help me set him up. Victor hesitates, then nods. He tells me about a deal Marcus is planning, a big one, set to go down in 2 days at a warehouse by the airport. Get me in, I say, my voice steady despite the fear clawing at my chest. Victor arranges for me to pose as a courier, delivering documents to the warehouse. It's a risky plan, but it's my only shot. I spend the next day preparing, memorizing the layout of the warehouse, practicing my cover story. I visit Ethan one last time before the sting, needing to see him, to anchor myself. He looks worse, his face gaunt, but his eyes light up when he sees me. You're still fighting, he says, a faint smile breaking through. I'm proud of you, Mom. The words are a lifeline, pulling me back from the edge of doubt. I'm doing this for you, I say. For us. The night of the deal, I'm a bundle of nerves, my heart pounding as I drive to the warehouse. I'm wired with a recorder, courtesy of the detective, who's promised to have a team nearby. I pull up in the courier van, my hands sweating as I clutch the fake documents. The warehouse is dark, the air thick with the smell of oil and dust. Marcus is there, flanked by 2 men I don't recognize, their faces hard. I play my part, handing over the documents, my voice steady as I lie about the delivery. Marcus doesn't suspect me at first, but his eyes narrow when he sees my face up close. You, he says, his voice a hiss. Before I can react, he grabs my arm, his grip bruising. What are you playing at? He demands, his face inches from mine. I try to pull away, but he's stronger, and for a moment, I think I've miscalculated, that this is where it ends. But then I hear sirens, the screech of tires, and the warehouse is flooded with light. The police swarm in, shouting orders, and Marcus's grip loosens as he realizes he's trapped. I stumble back, my breath ragged, as the officers cuff him, his curses echoing in the empty space. They find everything: ledgers, fake contracts, proof of his crimes. The detective shakes my hand, his face grim but approving. You did good, he says, but I don't feel good. I feel empty, drained, the weight of the past months crashing down on me. I drive back to the motel, my body shaking, and collapse on the bed, the recorder still taped to my chest. I've won, but at what cost? I fly back to New York the next day, the city's gray skyline a stark contrast to Vegas's glitter. I visit Ethan, needing to tell him it's over, that Marcus is in custody. He listens, his face unreadable, then reaches for the glass between us, as if he could touch me. You did it, he says, his voice thick with emotion. You saved me. But I shake my head. I didn't save you, I say. I just gave you a chance to save yourself. He's quiet for a long moment, then nods. I'm going to try, he says. For you. For Dad. The words are a balm, soothing the raw edges of my heart. I leave the prison with a flicker of hope, the first I've felt in months. Marcus is gone, but the real work is just beginning for Ethan, for me, for the family we're trying to rebuild. The weeks after Marcus's arrest are a strange limbo, a mix of relief and unease. I'm back in our house, the one I almost lost, and it feels both familiar and foreign. Ethan's absence is a constant ache, but the knowledge that Marcus is behind bars gives me a fragile sense of victory. The detective calls with updates. Marcus is facing multiple charges, his empire of lies crumbling under the weight of my evidence. The victims, including Clara, will see some restitution, though it's a small comfort against their losses. I try to focus on that, on the good I've done, but the cost is heavy. I turned in my own son, and now I've taken down his manipulator, but the scars remain. I visit Ethan every week, driving the long road to the prison with a thermos of coffee and a heart full of hope and dread. He's changing, slowly, the anger in his eyes giving way to something softer. He talks about his time inside, the routines, the regrets. I was lost, Mom, he says one day, his voice low. After the divorce, after Dad died, I didn't know who I was anymore. Marcus made it easy to fall. I listen, my hands pressed against the glass, wishing I could take his pain away. You're still my son, I say. You'll find your way back. I start volunteering at a community center, helping families who've been through what I have: loss, betrayal, the slow climb back to hope. It's exhausting, but it keeps me grounded, reminds me that I'm not alone in this. Clara comes sometimes, her smile brighter now, though still tinged with grief. We talk about Ethan, about Marcus, about the lives we're rebuilding. You gave us a chance, she says one day, squeezing my hand. That's more than most people get. Her words stay with me, a reminder that this fight was worth it, even if it broke me in the process. But the shadow of Marcus lingers. I get a call from the detective one morning, his voice tense. Marcus made bail, he says. He's out, and he's angry. My stomach drops, the fear I thought I'd buried rushing back. I check the locks on the house, sleep with a bat by my bed, my eyes scanning the street for unfamiliar cars. I don't tell Ethan, not wanting to worry him, but the fear is a constant companion now, a reminder that this isn't over. I decide to confront the fear head-on. I track down Marcus's last known address, a rented condo in a seedy part of Vegas. I don't tell the detective, knowing he'd stop me. This is personal, a reckoning I need to face alone. I fly back to Vegas, the city's lights a grim reminder of the chase that brought me here. The condo is dark when I arrive, but I see movement inside, a shadow passing the window. My heart pounds as I knock, my voice steady as I call his name. Marcus, it's over. Come out. He opens the door, his face gaunt, his charm replaced by a hollow desperation. You ruined everything, he says, his voice shaking. You and your son. I step closer, unafraid now, the anger in me stronger than the fear. You ruined him, I say. You used him, and you left him to rot. But I'm not letting you walk away. He laughs, a bitter sound, but there's no fight left in him. I see it in his eyes, the defeat, the knowledge that he's lost. I don't call the police, not yet. I want him to hear me, to understand the pain he's caused. I tell him about Ethan, about the boy he was, about the man he's trying to become. I tell him about Clara, about the families he destroyed. He listens, his face unreadable, and when I'm done, he slumps against the wall, his bravado gone. I didn't mean for it to go this far, he says, his voice barely a whisper. I just wanted to win. I leave him there, knowing the police will find him soon enough. I fly back to New York, my heart lighter but still heavy with the weight of what I've done. I've faced the man who broke my family, and I've won, but the victory is bittersweet. I visit Ethan the next day, telling him everything, holding nothing back. He listens, his eyes wide, and when I'm done, he reaches for the glass, his voice steady. You're the strongest person I know, he says. I'm going to make you proud. I leave the prison with tears in my eyes, but they're not tears of grief. They're tears of hope, of a future we might still have. Marcus is gone, his shadow fading, and for the first time in months, I feel like I can breathe. The seasons change, the leaves falling in a riot of red and gold, but the house remains a quiet witness to my journey. I keep busy, volunteering, gardening, trying to fill the void Ethan's absence leaves. The news about Marcus comes in fits and starts his arrest, his trial, the headlines screaming about the fall of a con man. I don't read them, don't need to. I know the truth, and I know what it cost me. I focus on Ethan, on the letters he sends from prison, his handwriting neater now, his words filled with a cautious hope. He's taking classes, he says, learning carpentry, reading books about redemption. I want to be better, he writes, and I cling to those words like a lifeline. I visit him every Sunday, the routine a comfort in its predictability. He's stronger now, his face less gaunt, his smile more genuine. We talk about the future, about what he'll do when he's out. I want to help people, he says one day, his eyes bright. Like you did. I want to make things right. I nod, my throat tight, and tell him I believe in him. It's the truth, but it's also a prayer, a hope that he'll find his way back to the boy I raised. Clara becomes a friend, her presence a steady anchor. We meet for coffee, share stories of our lives before the chaos. She started a support group for fraud victims, and I join, finding solace in their stories, their strength. You gave us a voice, she says one evening, her eyes shining. You made us feel seen. I shake my head, uncomfortable with the praise. I did what I had to, I say, but her smile tells me she understands. The fear of Marcus fades, replaced by a new worry. What happens when Ethan comes home? He has 4 years left, a lifetime in some ways. But I'm already planning, saving money, fixing up the house. I want it to be a home again, not a museum of our pain. I paint the walls, plant flowers, hang new curtains. It's small, but it's something, a way to keep moving forward. One day, I get a call from the detective. Marcus has taken a plea deal, he says, his voice weary. He's going away for a long time. Your evidence made that happen. I thank him, but the words feel hollow. Justice has been served, but it doesn't erase the past. I think of Ethan, of the choices that led us here, and I wonder if I could have done things differently. If I'd confronted him sooner, if I'd seen the signs, would we still be here? I write to Ethan that night, pouring out my doubts, my fears, my love. I tell him about Marcus's sentence, about the house, about the life I'm building for us. I'm waiting for you, I write. No matter how long it takes. I seal the letter, my hand steady, and drop it in the mailbox, a small act of faith in a world that's tested mine. The community center becomes my refuge, a place where I can give back, where I can see the impact of my fight. I meet a young man there, barely 20, whose mother was one of Marcus's victims. He's angry, lost, but I see Ethan in him, the boy he was before the world broke him. I listen to his story, offer what advice I can, and when he leaves, he hugs me, his voice thick. Thanks for not giving up, he says, and I realize he's talking about more than just his mother. I'm not the same woman I was a year ago. The chase for Marcus changed me, hardened me, but it also showed me my own strength. I'm a mother, yes, but I'm also a fighter, someone who faced the darkness and didn't flinch. I think of Ethan's words, his promise to make me proud, and I know I'm already proud of him, not for what he's done, but for what he's trying to become. As winter settles over the house, I light a fire in the hearth, the warmth chasing away the chill. I sit with Ethan's letters, reading them again, each one a step toward redemption. I don't know what the future holds, but I know we'll face it together. The scars will always be there, but so will the love, the unbreakable bond that carried us through. Winter wraps the house in a quiet embrace, the snow piling high outside, a blanket over the pain of the past year. I spend my days at the community center, my evenings by the fire, Ethan's letters a constant companion. He writes about his progress, the small victories a carpentry project finished, a book that moved him, a conversation with a counselor that gave him clarity. I'm starting to see a future, he writes, and I hold those words close, a beacon in the dark. I write back, filling my letters with stories of the house, the garden, the people I'm helping. I want him to know there's a world waiting for him, a place where he can start again. Clara invites me to a fundraiser for the Victims Support Group, a small event in a local church hall. I hesitate, unsure if I belong, but she insists. You're part of this, she says, her voice firm. The hall is filled with faces I recognize from the trial, people whose lives were touched by Marcus's schemes. They thank me, their words heavy with gratitude, and I feel a mix of pride and guilt. I did this for them, yes, but I did it for Ethan, too, and the cost was high. One woman, older, with a face lined by years of struggle, takes my hand. Your son's lucky to have you, she says, her eyes kind. Not every mother would fight like you did. I nod, my throat tight, and think of Ethan, of the boy who used to draw me pictures, who promised to take care of me. I'm fighting for that boy, for the man he can still become. The fundraiser raises enough to help a few families, and I leave feeling lighter, like maybe, just maybe, we're all healing. I visit Ethan the next day, the prison's gray walls less oppressive now. He's waiting for me, his smile brighter than I've seen in months. I got accepted into a work program, he says, his voice buzzing with excitement. It's a start, Mom. A real start. I grin, my heart swelling, and tell him about the fundraiser, about the people he'll meet when he's out. They'll see the real you, I say. The you I've always known. He looks down, his fingers tracing the edge of the table, and I know he's still carrying the weight of his guilt. That night, I dream of John, my husband, for the first time in years. He's standing in the kitchen, his laugh warm, his eyes kind. You did good, Maggie, he says, using the nickname he loved. You're holding the family together. I wake with tears on my cheeks, a sense of peace I haven't felt since he died. I know he'd be proud, not just of me, but of Ethan, of the fight we're both waging to make things right. The detective calls again, his voice lighter this time. Marcus's trial is wrapping up, the evidence overwhelming. He's looking at 20 years, he says. You made that happen. I thank him, but the victory feels distant now, overshadowed by the work ahead. I don't care about Marcus anymore. My focus is Ethan, our family, the future we're building. I start planning for his release, even though it's years away. I want the house to be ready, a place where he can heal, where we can heal together. I meet with a lawyer, discussing Ethan's case, exploring options for an early release. It's a long shot, but I'm willing to try. The lawyer is kind, his eyes understanding as I tell him our story. Your son's lucky, he says, echoing the woman from the fundraiser. Most people don't get a second chance like this. I nod, my resolve strengthening. Ethan will get his chance, and I'll be there to help him take it. As spring approaches, the snow melts, revealing the garden I've been tending. I plant roses, Ethan's favorite, their buds a promise of new beginnings. I write to him about them, about the house, about the life we'll share. We're not done yet. I write. We're just getting started. I seal the letter, my heart steady, and know that whatever comes, we'll face it together. Spring arrives, and with it, a sense of renewal I haven't felt in years. The roses bloom, their petals bright against the green of the garden, a reminder that beauty can grow from even the hardest ground. Ethan's letters grow longer, his words filled with plans, with hope. He's been promoted in the work program, he says, his voice through the ink stronger now, more certain. I'm learning to build things, Mom, he writes. Not just furniture, but a life. I read his words by the fire, my heart full, and know we're on the right path, even if it's a long one. I keep volunteering, the community center is second home now. The people there, Clara, the young man, the others have become a kind of family, bound by shared pain and shared strength. We organize another fundraiser, this one bigger, drawing a crowd from across the county. I speak at it, my voice trembling at first, but growing steady as I tell our story, not just Ethan's, but mine, the mother who fought for justice, for redemption. The applause is warm, but it's the hugs afterward, the whispered thanks, that stay with me. The lawyer calls with news. Ethan's eligible for a parole hearing in 2 years, earlier than expected. His progress is impressive, he says, and your testimony will help. I start preparing, gathering letters from the community, from Clara, from the people Ethan's touched through me. I want the board to see him as a man who made mistakes, but is fighting to make them right. I visit him, sharing the news, and his eyes light up, a spark I haven't seen since he was a boy. I won't let you down, he says, and I believe him. Marcus's trial ends, his sentence a headline I can't avoid. 20 years, no parole. I feel no joy, only a quiet relief that he's gone, that he can't hurt anyone else. I think of his words in the condo, his admission that he didn't mean for things to go so far. I don't forgive him, but I let go of the anger, knowing it's a poison I can't afford to carry. My focus is Ethan now, our future, the family we're rebuilding. I spend my days tending the garden, writing to Ethan, planning for his return. The house is alive again, filled with light and the scent of roses. I hang a photo of us in the living room, one from before everything fell apart, and it feels like a promise. I know the road ahead won't be easy. Ethan will carry his past, and so will Ibit. We'll face it together, as we always have. One evening, Clara comes over, bringing a bottle of wine and a smile. We sit on the porch, watching the sunset, the sky a blaze of orange and pink. You did something extraordinary, she says, raising her glass. You gave us all a second chance. I clink my glass against hers, my eyes on the horizon. We're not done yet, I say, echoing my letter to Ethan. We're just getting started. As the stars come out, I think of Ethan, of the boy he was, the man he's becoming. I think of John, of the love that carried us through, and I know he's watching, proud of us both. The scars will always be there, but so will the love, the strength, the hope. I close my eyes, the night air warm against my skin, and for the first time in years, I feel whole.